Okay, so here we go. Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. I strongly suggest, actually, want you to listen to one of these two versions of Sonnet 18. They're a little bit more modern. So before you actually dive into this analysis, pick one of these to listen to.
Shall I compare thee to summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate.
Okay, so there's that one. Or you can listen to this guy. He's pretty cool too.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate.
Okay, so those are the two versions that I'd like you to hear before we actually read into this. You guys know that poems usually become songs. Any artist that is a songwriter, you can make their music into some kind of poem. So they include a lot of these different characteristics that Shakespeare used in his sonnets. So we are going to notice, as I mentioned, characteristics in Shakespeare's sonnet. So I want you to pay attention to these four different colors that I have here. So I have black, blue, purple, and green. The setup of this sonnet is that it is composed of three quatrains and one couplet. If you hear the word quatrain, quatrain sounds like quad, which means four. So a quatrain has four lines. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. One, two, three, four. Okay. A couplet sounds like couple. Couple is two, has two lines. One, two. So every single sonnet that Shakespeare wrote, and he wrote a lot of them, okay, has this exact same formula. It has three quatrains and a couplet. Okay. In addition to that, you will see that I have bolded the ends of the words, and that is because he created a rhyme scheme. When I refer to rhyme scheme, I mean that certain words rhyme with other words and only other words in the entire poem. It is specifically end rhyme, which means the words at the end are the ones that rhyme. So we have day rhymes with may, temperate with date, shines with declines, dimmed with untrimmed, fade with shade, owest with growest, see with thee. Okay. What you will notice is that day and may rhyme, but it doesn't rhyme with any other word in the entire poem. So you're only allowed to create the rhymes that match like those letters or those lines. It is labeled in a certain way. It is called AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG. Okay. And I'll go over that a little bit more in the analysis. And then the last component of Shakespeare sonnets is that each line was made up of 10 syllables. If you remember, a syllable is the sound of how many sounds are in a word. So if I say school, school is one word. If I say Joshua, it's Joshua. There's three syllables in that. If I say Imani, Imani, that's three. If I say Alan, Alan. If I say Albert, Albert, that's two. Okay, so you should be able to figure out how to do syllables. Okay, uh, so let's read it. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough wind do quake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Some time too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair some time declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. So let's check out the explanation below now. So, shall I compare these to a summer's day? Obviously, it sounds like it's something romantic. So you want to check out like what that romantic piece might be. So just the simple fact that he starts with "Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?" Obviously, Shakespeare's comparing the summer's day to a person, their beauty, basically. Okay, like when you compare somebody to something else, it's usually, a physical aspect of some sort, all right? So whoever he's writing this to, it seems like it's kind of something romantic because obviously you don't just compare like a friend to a summer's day, but it could be a friend, I guess. It's up to you to decide that. When we are comparing, automatically you should know that we're going to be using some kind of figurative language. It's either going to be a simile or a metaphor. So there is no like or as in here. So we're obviously going to compare whoever he's talking about to a summer's day, which makes it a metaphor. All right. So we're going to see this metaphor throughout the entire poem, him comparing this person to a metaphor. Okay. He tells them that they are more lovely and more temperate than a summer's day. Okay. So basically, the person is more lovely and calmer. Temperate means like calm. Okay. Let's see. Temperate means calm. So think about summer. And he starts going into things about summer. He says, in summer, rough wind do quake the darling buds of May. So sometimes it's too windy. And when it's too windy, what happens to the buds, the flowers on the trees? They fall off. Like if you go up to Tech during the spring, we have those beautiful trees with the pink flowers, and around this time it gets super windy and they are all over the ground. They look beautiful for a short time and then they're all over the ground because it gets windy. So is summer really that great? If it gets a little windy, you're even better than summer. And then it also says that summer's lease hath all too short a date. Think about a lease. That's like the time that you spend at a place. Like summer is short. How many of you feel that summer is short? Probably all of you, right? Like, especially when you're on vacation and you're having fun and whatnot. Like, you don't want summer to end, but it does eventually end. And sometimes it even feels shorter than winter, right? So, summer, lease hath all too short a date. So, basically, at the end of this quatrain, we're realizing that summer is um, not as great, and this person is even better. Okay, moving on to the second quatrain. This quatrain is talking about the negatives of summer, okay? So this whole entire quatrain is basically talking about summer, right? And Shakespeare kind of uses personification because he talks about summer and the aspects of summer like a person. So, sometime too hot, the eye of heaven shines. What could be the eye of heaven, guys? And if you think about it, hopefully you're realizing that the eye of heaven during summer is going to be the sun. So, agree or disagree, like sometimes summer, like the sun does get a little too hot, right? And you just want to be inside in air conditioning or be in a pool or be in the ocean, right? And often is his gold complexion dim. Still talking about the sun. Now, sometimes it's really hot, but sometimes it gets dimmed. What dims the sun? Clouds, okay? So sometimes the clouds cover the sun and you don't get any sun. That happens. Sometimes there's rain and whatnot, okay? All right. And every fair from fair sometime declines. So there are things that are in summer that don't always stay beautiful. Sometimes plants dry up. The grass is too dry if you don't put water on it and it dies. Like, so not everything stays beautiful during summer, okay? And then by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed, okay? So basically the weather is unpredictable, things can change. So that whole thing talks to us about summer and how summer is not as wonderful as everybody thinks, okay? Here's that I forgot to mention this in the first quatrain, that CD. So here I have it labeled so that you can see shines rhymes with declines, dimmed with untrims. I have it labeled CD. Okay? Third quatrain. Now, this one is talking about the person of affection, the person that Shakespeare was writing about or writing to. But thy meaning you, okay? But thy eternal summer shall not fade. So your eternal summer is probably your beauty, right? So your beauty is going to last forever. It's never going to fade. It's never going to go away. You're never going to lose it, right? Nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, okay? Owest means what you own, okay? So you're never going to lose that. And then it even says that nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade. Death can't even take away your beauty. Like that's how beautiful you are, okay? And then it says, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So even as time goes on, your beauty actually gets better. You get even better. All right. So all of these are very positive things. Check out the EF, fade, shade, oest, growest. Okay. That the things that rhyme. And then the last two is the couplet. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to these. So this one is a little tricky, but you have to sit and think about it. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see. So as long as someone in the world is still breathing and is still living and can still read or hear this sonnet, then the person's beauty is going to be alive forever. Why? Because of this written sonnet. So think about this. This sonnet was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You're reading this sonnet now. Technically, by you reading this sonnet, you're keeping the beauty of that person alive because you're probably picturing someone that's absolutely stunning and beautiful and amazing. And that's all because he wrote this. Think about like a poem or a song, like that stays alive forever. Songs that are written about people, like that's forever. So that's the example. Okay. Um, fun little fact. So you might be wondering who Shakespeare was writing about. The story goes that he was writing about a guy. All right. So that is the end of my explanation. I hope that it helped you understand it.